Hello one and all, welcome to Seen Through Glass. Now if you've been watching my recent videos, you'll know it's currently test drive month here on the channel. And I did say for test drive month, I'll be spending most of my time in the UK. But yeah, this is not the UK. And that's because a few weeks ago, I got an email from Lamborghini. It's their 60th birthday this year. And they said, would I like to come to the factory to learn a little bit more about their history and to get behind the wheel of some of their heritage cars. That sounded like too good an invite to turn down. So yeah, I'm here in Italy, about an hour west of Sant'Agata Lamborghini HQ. And here are the cars that Lamborghini have brought with us. Check out this lineup. Pretty much every model from their 60-year history. Look at that incredible gold Diablo. It is so cool to see all of these cars. And whilst I would love to get behind the wheel of every single one of them, I'm actually here to focus on these two SUVs, because you could argue that these days Lamborghini is more of an SUV company than a sports car company. I'm going to come back to that point very soon, but as you can probably tell from my voice, it's been quite an early start to catch the sunrise, and we're in Italy, so first things first, let's go and find an espresso, or 20. That coffee really hit the spot. I'm feeling a lot more human, and the sun has fully risen into the sky, so let's properly start this experience. Now, whenever we think of Lamborghini, I think we all think of the big flagship stuff, the Countach, the Miura, the Diablo, the Aventador, etc. But as I was saying, these days, they're really more of an SUV company. 50% of the cars Lamborghini make are Urises. This thing has been such an insane success story that last night, well, I was struggling to think of another car that's performed as well as this thing. In the UK, if you want to buy a Urus, any Urus, you still have to pay over list price. I checked last night, and on Auto Trader, the cheapest Urus is a 5-year-old car with 42,000 miles on the clock. It's priced at £169,000. That's £5,000 more than the original list price for the car. So whoever's owned that thing has enjoyed the hell out of it and is now going to sell it potentially for a profit. It is mind-blowing. But unlike so many other sports or supercar manufacturers who've eventually moved into the SUV space because of, well, global pressure or customer pressure, Lamborghini are really the only one to have kind of heritage in this area. Because yes, Lamborghini's first SUV is that, the LM002. This thing is absolutely wild. Can we start with its size? The Urus is not a small car, but it looks like an A3 next to this absolute monster. These cars, the LM002, incredibly rare. Just 300 were made, so you really don't see them out and about, but over and above that, they are kind of monstrous trucks. So even those people who do own them, I don't think really get out and about in them that often because, well, it's quite a procedure to drive this thing on the public road. So yes, getting the chance to get up close with one and in a moment get behind the wheel of one, it's something I'm very, very excited about. Now, to truly appreciate this thing, you kind of need to hear its origin story, because actually the initial concept or idea for the LM002 came about sort of 10 years before this thing really went into production. In the mid-1970s, Lamborghini tried to build a car for the US military. It's called the Cheetah, and it looked something like this, but rather than having a hunking great V12 in the front, it had an American V8 hanging off the back. The Lamborghini were trying their best, but the US military, or at least the company that they'd contracted to get a car built, just went, it's a bit crap. So unfortunately, they didn't win the contract, and well, we now know that the Hummer did. But about 3 or 4 years later, they went, let's revisit that, because it was kind of cool. It looked good, and we liked the idea of it, and maybe our customers would want an off-roading Lambo. So they came back with the LM001, but the mistake was they still had a V8 hanging off the back, so fundamentally it was crap. And they went, yeah, this is still not good, let's abandon it again. A year or so later, they decided to revisit it, but make one huge change and get rid of the V8 hanging off the back, actually get rid of the V8 in general and put a V12 in instead, because of course they're Lamborghini, and why mess around with engines that you don't really know? Stick with what you do know, V12s, and specifically the Countach V12. They made a number of other changes as well, including increasing the luxury, because essence of Lamborghini, where it all sort of began, were with luxury GT cars. And so whilst this did start off as this kind of off-roading utilitarian military vehicle, it had to have leather and sometimes wood and this nice creature comforts. So it's this bizarre, wild, truck-looking monster that then has supercar performance, theoretically, and a load of luxury. Think what you might about the way it looks. Just as an idea, as a concept, I adore it. There are very few cars that I film with where I can set up the tripod on the back seat and still capture the entire interior. That's how huge this thing is. The passenger seat feels like it's about 15 foot away from me. I actually can't reach the passenger seat. It's insane. Look at this big old gear lever sitting super high up on this kind of central tunnel. All the sort of switch gear and dials feel so much more retro than the car's actual age. Built in 1986 with quite a long production run, despite the small number of cars that was actually produced, it feels way more 1970s than, yeah, like late 1980s, even early 90s. Some of these cars were produced into 1990. Look at this, the stereo up here. It's just insane. The view out, unique and slightly terrifying. We'll get into it more, I think, once I head out onto the road. But yeah, it's an exceptionally unique bit of kit, and just like this, it's actually very Lambo, and that's what I kind of adore, because we'll get into it throughout this video. But the one thing I think Lamborghini have done unbelievably well in their 60 years is stay true to themselves and never really waver, despite the multiple different owners and global pressures and all these different things. A Lamborghini's always been a Lamborghini. And that is still true, even in this semi-truck. Now, despite this vehicle's insane size, look how tightly packaged in the engine is. It's ridiculous. So yes, this is the 5.2 litre V12 from the Countach, and it looks like it barely fits. I mean, I guess that's why you have these massive sort of bubbles on the bonnet, just to house this huge engine block. It sits so high. I'm assuming, I should probably ask Lambo, I'm assuming it's so that you always have good ground clearance, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, it basically looks like it doesn't fit. They've just gone, oh, get in there, and then slammed down the bonnet, and that's created, yeah, these huge bubbles up there. Just to note over here, those yellow things are actually the snorkel. So rather than having a sort of traditional snorkel up the side there, like you see on a Land Rover Defender, they're housed underneath the bonnet to ensure that the engine keeps getting the air that it needs as you plough through a river or go along a dusty road. But yeah, just mad to see. And it just makes no sense, because I keep saying this thing is huge. So why on earth does the engine look like it doesn't really fit? And actually, something to note, all LM002s are left-hand drive, because they couldn't actually work out how to convert to a right-hand drive and still fit everything in. They did try. They developed one right-hand drive vehicle, but by the time they'd figured it all out and developed it, they'd actually already built the 300 cars they claimed that they were going to make, and they didn't want to upset their customers, so that one car sits in the Lamborghini museum. It could never be sold. Yeah, absolutely wild. But I reckon now we've looked at this thing long enough. As intimidated as I am, I reckon we get behind the wheel and go for a drive.
Hey, ciao guys! I'm buddy of Sam's buddy for today. We are driving these amazing cars on Colli Bolognese hills. There is Jonathan inside, he's taking a lot of pictures and video of Sam. That's not a joke, he's really driving the LM002. That's not a dream.
Well, not well.
No, he's driving quite well. So, few problems with dimensions, but you simply need to get used to it.
And do you know the ultimate YouTube thing to say?
Sorry?
Do you know the ultimate YouTube thing to say?
What? No.
So make sure you subscribe.
Oh yeah, make sure you subscribe. make sure you subscribe to my Instagram account. He has already enough followers. So at Peter Perolini, Perolini. Ciao.
I'm ready. I think. Let's disengage the handbrake. Oh my god, which needs 2 hands to do. Dogleg first gear. We've got a Qashqai coming down the hill. Maybe we'll wait for him to get out of the way. Electronic door mirrors, which are, well, actually working now. Got a tiny bit of a hill start to begin with here, so let's see. Oh, clutch is easier than I would have thought. We're actually rolling. I mean, if I thought it was big outside, on the road, this feels even bigger. I have no idea where the front right of the vehicle is, like no clue. I feel like I could eat the Urus in front of me. Even Jonathan's smiling because I think he knows exactly what I'm saying in here. There we go, get some revs up. Into second gear, my first gear change in the LM002. Kind of got to keep it alive, I got to be honest. Maybe I need to stick in first gear, I don't really know. I'm not used to it yet. Yeah, I'm gonna stick into first gear for now. But initial impressions are as intimidating as I thought. So give me a few minutes to get used to this thing and start feeling a bit more confident and excited, because right now I'm just absolutely purring myself. Look at this! It's the Giro d'Italia! Actually, less cheers and applause than I was expecting from an Italian crowd. 2 Lamborghinis on a random little road. I thought they were going to go nuts. But anyway, I've got to be honest, I've been a little bit more impressed by the Urus Performante so far than I have the LM002, because this thing was really designed for proper loose surface roads. Well, that Urus Performante, it's basically a track-focused SUV. Don't know what tyres it's got on, but this thing has specially designed Pirelli Scorpion all-road or off-road tyres. Oh, and that bicycle very nearly went into the front of the LM002. He was busy looking at the Urus and didn't realise that there was a truck coming just behind it. But yeah, I mean, that Urus is being a pretty good camera car, I've got to be honest. Oh, I put the windscreen wipers on by mistake. But yeah, jokes aside, this thing, as I say, really should be very capable on any kind of loose surface. I already mentioned its origins as a military vehicle, but when it finally reached a production version, it still should be able to tackle most situations. It's got the ability to choose high and low range gearing. We can lock the differential. Obviously, we've got great ground clearance, really good approach and departure angles because of the design of the front and rear bumpers. I already showed you the snorkel. I mean, yeah, it's something that should be able to go up some pretty steep slopes, tackle little tiny gravel roads like that very easily, but also go across sand dunes and through rivers, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this kind of situation, apart from the fact it's a very narrow road, easy for an LM002. What will be interesting is when we start gaining some speed and using the engine, because that's what really makes this thing stand out, is the fact that it's got a supercar engine in the front. And if you think about it, okay, yes, Lamborghini went on to release the Urus, but really it's Ferrari. It took 40 years for another manufacturer to put a supercar V12 engine in a vehicle theoretically capable of various terrains, but Ferrari claim that the Purosangue is not about going off-road. I don't know. Essentially, this thing is pretty damn unique because of that engine. Anyway, a few more shots we're going to get on this nice and quiet road, and then we'll get onto the faster stuff and, interestingly, start pushing on in this beast. Right, we're away from the gravel and on a bit of a hilly pass. Oh my God. It's my first chance to really start, I guess, stretching the LM002, if that's the thing that you do. You will have noticed I've opened the window because it's very hot in here. We have got old school Lamborghini air conditioning, which is like, what was that Jeremy Clarkson joke?
I remember the air conditioning in Lambos of old used to be an asthmatic sitting in the dashboard, blowing at you through a straw.
It's not even that really, so yeah, I've had to open the window. Now, whilst I've talked about the size of this vehicle plenty, I haven't really mentioned the weight yet, which is very nearly 3 tons. This vehicle is so heavy that actually to drive in Italy, you're supposed to have a different license, a truck driving license. This is quite an experience. The gearbox, well, yeah, you've got to kind of double D-clutch and heel and toe if possible. You've got to manhandle the thing. It is moving around, it is swaying around. It's not really made for a road like this, as we were suspecting. Quite a lot of lean. I feel like I want to be burlier. I want a hairier chest and some rose-tinted sunglasses and a few cigarettes. Probably an Italian accent or like a Miami accent. And I want to be like, hey, I got to go. Get my LM002. I want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's who I want to be. It is so unique, this, and it really is all-encompassing. It's a sports truck. It's the only way to describe it. It's kind of brilliant though. Quite glad we're going uphill though and not downhill, because I don't really want to be stamping on the brakes. Oh, bloody hell. I can't imagine it'd be much fun for passengers in here. God, they'd be getting nauseous by now. And probably not going that fast, but I feel like I'm almost going too fast. We've stopped here because look at that view. I mean, there's snow-tipped mountains, rolling hills, there's a river down there. The green of the grass matches the Urus, the blue of the sky matches the LM002. This for me, this is proper Italy. I am very happy in this moment. And also happier to maybe be out of the LM002 on that road. Because I mean, maybe that's what they wanted LM002 owners to do, to drive on twisty mountain passes, but I kind of doubt it. And I actually wonder if back in the late 80s, early 90s, you bought one of those cars, whether you thought dynamically it was any good. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be that. Maybe it was more about presence and substance and style. One thumbs up. More than the cyclists. The cyclists weren't impressed, but the motorbikers kind of liked the cars. But yeah, it's LM002 is about everything maybe aside from the dynamics, I guess. That all changes for the Urus Performante and the Urus in general, because whilst Lamborghini have heritage in this department, these two cars are very, very different. And as I hinted at earlier on, the success of this thing is down to its breadth of capabilities. Unlike maybe the 002, which was just cool for turning up to a club and maybe dealing drugs. Shh. A super quick interruption. I'm currently editing the video and I've just noticed there's a serious rattle coming from the microphone attached to the GoPro inside the Urus Performante. That's because the ride on the Performante is insanely stiff. I don't actually really mention it in the clip you're about to watch, but yeah, it's really stiff. Maybe too stiff for an SUV, but that aids in the handling. Anyway, let's not get into that now. It's just a really annoying rattle that I apologise for. But now I've mentioned this, you're also going to be able to notice me bouncing around like a fool because of the stiff ride. It's fairly comical. Anyway, just wanted to clear that up. Back to the clip. Now, if you're a regular viewer to this channel, you know I haven't always been a huge fan of the super SUV. In my mind, if you're going to have an SUV, the most important thing is comfort, usability, not necessarily the ability to set a Nürburgring lap record. But you know, I get it, ultimate one-car garage, that kind of thing. When I drove one in Australia at the start of the year with the Lee collection, I realised that the Urus is probably the best one. Is it the one that I'd choose? I don't know, but it just is so capable, this thing. We are some 600 or 700 kilos lighter than the LM002. We're still over 2 tons in this car, but it doesn't feel like it. the speed you can carry on roads is outrageous. And this, the Performante, well, it's just better to drive. It's slightly more powerful, slightly lighter, but much better. It's handling. So they got rid of the very complex but also very good air ride suspension, placed it with the more standard steel springs, widened the track, and the thing is just as flat as anything. It's go through a corner, the car's like, I could do that 50 miles an hour faster. What are you doing, Sam? Crack on. It's unreal. You know, and I've heard stories of original Uruses leading supercar convoys or supercar rallies, and the supercars not being able to keep up. Because on roads like this where it's super bumpy, you can just plow on. I said the same thing in the Purosangue. This definitely feels bigger than the Purosangue, but in Performante form, boy is it good. I think we're turning around pretty quickly because we haven't got that much time in this Performante. Boy, was it impressive in that little drive then. They just smashed it out the park with this car.
Hi guys, it's Pietro here.
You've already done this.
That's not a joke. He's going to drive the Miura as well, so that's all real.
You ruined the surprise. He ruined the surprise. But yes, whilst I was originally here just to drive the LM002 and the US Performante, got back to the car park, and Lamborghini were like, well, none of the other journalists want the Miura at the minute. You want to go for a drive? I was like, yeah, I'm not going to come all this way to celebrate Lamborghini's 60th birthday and not get behind the wheel of arguably one of their most important supercars and one of the most important supercars of all time, potentially the first supercar. I actually don't think this is going to need many words, so I'm just going to strap some GoPros on and I can go for a drive, because I think there's potential I might get emotional. Yeah, you know I like to do that with Italian cars. So yeah, let's jump into the Miura and go for a drive. I know I said I wasn't going to talk, but I take it back because I'm full of all the feels, as predicted. I'm a little bit emotional. Whilst you know me as a Ferrari guy, or more recently a Porsche guy, I'm also a 60s guy and an Italian guy. I mean, I'm not Italian at all, but my heart feels a little bit Italian when it comes to cars. And, you know, all the modern day supercars that I freak out about, they wouldn't really exist without this, the Miura. This is where it began, the low-slung, mid-engine supercar. And I'm so lucky to do what I do. And I'm fully aware that there are some cars, despite my luck and the opportunities I get, that I'm unlikely to be able to ever drive. And I kind of thought the Miura was one of those cars. These things are exceptionally rare, exceptionally special, and very valuable. Especially an SV. This is an SV, this is the best that you can get. So the fact that I'm here in Italy, in glorious sunshine on a beautiful road, with relatively free realm over this car, it's quite overwhelming. I say relatively because, yeah, I do have a US Performante pace car in front of me, but as we know, that's not a slow car. So I am getting the chance to get on it a little bit. Just consumed by the moment. I think at some point, well, I've got to own a 60s car, and probably a 60s Italian car, because they really make me feel like nothing else. The LM002 was cool. That Performante is an incredible bit of engineering. But driving this at 30 kilometers an hour beats both of them. And just absolutely smashes both of them out of the park.